Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to another session on assent litigation. My name is Oluwatosin Isaac, and as we do it, we bring you law-related topics that you should be aware of. I mean, like I do say, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So any opportunity to learn, you seize it. And here's another opportunity to learn. And by the end of this session, I know and I believe that you would have learned one or two things. So today, I say my name is Oluwatosin, and this is another session on assent litigation. If you look at the topic below you, you will see that it's talking about nuisance. What constitutes nuisance under the Nigerian law? That is what we'll be discussing today. I know you've had statements like, oh, it's constituting nuisance, I can't take this anymore, it's too much. What does it mean? Is it legal? Is it an illegal act that you can actually institute an action in court for? Today we are going to find out. So we're going to start with a story today. We are taking another turn, so we're going to start with a story today. Let me start with this. Shade is an employee. She works in Lagos right now. She works on the highland, but she stays on the mainland. I mean, Lagos residents will understand this. So, because of that, she has to wake up very early in the morning to leave home in order to beat the Lagos traffic and get to work on time so that she will not be late. Okay, but at the close of the work, all she dreams about is how she's going to get home and how she's going to get a very good dinner, take a cold shower, and have a good night's rest to get fit for the next day. However, this is not the case. She doesn't get all this, because when she gets home, she lives in a neighborhood devoid of tranquility. I mean, there is no, it's not peaceful. There is just one noise after the other from here to there. But the major disturbance, the major interference she faces is from her next door neighbor, a family of 4 that hold vigils back to back daily. Vigils means all night, right? So they hold vigils daily, and as a result of this, she can't get her beauty sleep, mental health is affected, she has developed insomnia, and it's affecting her daily inputs at work. So she's tired. I mean, her peaceful enjoyment of her property and the fact that she can't just have a bliss in her apartment that she occupies is giving her so much concern. I mean, to the extent that she has even walked up to this family and explained the situation to them for them to take precautions. This is what I'm going through. Your vigils disturbs me a lot. I can't sleep. I'm going to work the next day and it disturbs me, but yet nothing has been done. She's tired and Shade does not know what to do. So let us analyze. We're going to use today's case scenario to make the whole analysis. I mean, after the explanation, we're going to apply it to the scenario of today that I just narrated, and determine whether Shade has an action, whether she can bring an action before the court. So Shade's case is that of nuisance. No long talk. Nuisance. And one way or the other, we've encountered that you are constituting nuisance, like I said earlier on. So what constitutes nuisance? Why do we say it's called nuisance? If you say somebody is constituting nuisance, and Shade came to meet you as a friend and she explained the whole situation, and you say, that is nuisance, you can go to court and sue. Calm down. What constitutes nuisance? What are the ingredients that made you conclude that this is nuisance? So that's what we're going to analyze today. So at the end of the day, I hope you'll be able to know the elements that constitute nuisance and how you can truly say, okay, differentiate between the types of nuisance we have. You understand? So let us get into it. Now, nuisance in the ordinary sense, in the ordinary meaning, in a layman's term or dictionary meaning, means disturbance, inconvenience, or obstruction from one's quiet enjoyment of one's environment. So if you are disturbing me, you are causing inconvenience, you are obstructing my peace in when I'm occupying my property, That is nuisance. Now, it can also be like an annoying activity. It's annoying, you are just fed up. It's just disturbing you, disturbance, just in the ordinary meaning. Now, in the legal parlance, now it has a more stricter, a more stricter meaning, in the sense that the law actually attaches much more stricter measures to it. What do I mean? Now, there have been cases where it has been defined. There have been cases, maybe in different cases, the court has defined it, but we rely on this Supreme Court definition that says that nuisance is an act or omission which is an inference with or annoyance to a person in the exercise or enjoyment of a right belonging to him as a member of a public, when it is a public nuisance, is ownership or occupation of land or some easement, profits or other rights used or enjoyed in connection with land, when it is a private nuisance. Now, this Supreme Court definition has given us a clearer picture of nuisance. It means nuisance is divided into two. We have private nuisance and we have public nuisance. This is getting very, very interesting. So let's continue. So when by this Supreme Court definition, we have been able to see that nuisance is divided into two types. We have the private nuisance and we have public nuisance. So what constitutes private nuisance? How do we know this is a private nuisance, and how do we know this is a public nuisance? Okay, let's see. Now, for private nuisance, from the word private, you will see that it's more like it arises whenever an individual takes up a residence, or you're occupying a land. You're occupying a land, or you're the owner of the land, either as an occupant or the owner of a land, or you take up a residence, and somebody is trying to disrupt your peaceful enjoyment of that land or possession. You are occupying a particular place, land, a property, an apartment, a residence. It's just as at that moment, you are the occupant of that property, and somebody, an individual now, a person, is coming to disrupt your peaceful enjoyment. That is said to be private nuisance. So it involves the use of one's property in a manner that causes significant harm to another person's use or enjoyment of their private land. So whatever you see somebody is doing that is causing harm, like disruption, disturbance, inconvenience on your peaceful enjoyment of your land, that is called a private nuisance. So this law is designed to protect an individual from the interference of another individual. Now, it's from individual to individual. There is an individual is occupying a land, and there's another individual trying to encroach or trying to disturb or trying to interfere or inconvenience him with his peaceful enjoyment of that land. So that is called private nuisance. So if you're occupying a particular place, or you're the owner of a land, or you are like you take up a residence, for instance, and somebody is trying to disrupt your peaceful possession or your peaceful enjoyment of that land or possession, as the case may be, the person is constituting nuisance. Now, private nuisance can be categorized into three. We have physical injury to the plaintiff's property, that is where the plaintiff's arm is affected by the fumes from the defendant's factory. Now, a form of private nuisance is when it is causing physical injury, like physical injury, the disturbance, now the interference is causing physical injury to the person occupying the property. Like I said, the example I gave here, maybe even a common example, let me use a common example. Generator. My neighbor's generator. Most Nigerians don't really take it serious, but it's actually a very serious case. I mean, you have a generator that exhumes this dangerous fumes. Is it carbon dioxide now, if I'm correct? and we know that it is unhealthy to inhale it, and every day it is being put on and very close to your window, and your neighbor puts it on, and the fumes, and you're inhaling it. It is very dangerous to your health. If it causes any health implication, that is another expenses. So that is nuisance. That is nuisance. It doesn't necessarily need to be a very big factory or a big. It can be as small as little as a generator that brings out carbon dioxide, and you have to inhale it every day. I mean, your neighbor can position it somewhere else that will not interfere to your enjoyment of your apartment. But in a situation where it is closely situated close to your window, and you can't even breathe properly when you are in the house, that is nuisance. And as long as it causes physical injury to you, it is nuisance. Another category of private nuisance is substantial interference with the plaintiff use and enjoyment of his land. Now, this is the example I gave. When you are interfering with the peaceful use and enjoyment of my land. Another example here is when the loud sounds of machine emanating from the defendant factory can be heard in the plaintiff residence. Disturbance, interference. Then we have another one, interference with ease and profit, e.g., where the defendant wrongfully obstructs the plaintiff right of way or right to light. Now imagine you have a house, you built a house, and in front of your gate, like directly in front of your gate, okay, maybe this is your house, and adjacent to your house there is a construction going on. A construction is going on, and okay, they came to offload some stones, gravel, cement, and instead they should offload this in front of where the construction is going on, they came to front of your gate to offload it, and it's obstructing you from your right of way. You can't pass, you can't open your gates properly. You understand? That is nuisance. I mean, if you want to offload the stones or the sand or the gravel, you can do it somewhere else. Why directly in front of my gate? Understand? So any interference with your easements, anything causing you discomfort, disturbance, interference, interfering with the peaceful enjoyment of your possession or your property that you occupy, is called nuisance. So it can even be physical injuries, it can be mental, it can be emotional, as long as it's having effect on you and disrupting your peaceful enjoyment of your property. It is classified as private nuisance. But remember, it must be an individual doing it to another individual. That's what makes it private. When we discuss public nuisance, you will know why I am emphasizing on the individual to individual. So what do I need to prove now? Okay, you've been talking since morning, this about private nuisance. What do I need to prove in order to bring an action for private nuisance? Okay, when I bring an action for private nuisance, what are the things I should prove that will make me have a good case and tell the court that I really do have a case of private nuisance and I need redress? Number one, the interference with the enjoyment of the land has occurred. It means there must have been an interference. Somebody is interfering with the enjoyment of your land, and the interference is a continuing situation, not a one-off incident. Now, regardless of the examples I gave, one of the major things to prove is that this interference, this disturbance is constant. It's constant. It's not just a one thing. Now, look at the example I gave, the last example now. That's okay. Somebody is building a house and it came to offload the sand in front of your gate that is disrupting your right of way. Okay, maybe that same day the person was able to move it, or they were able to use the sand, and they were able to use the sand and it cleared off. They cleared it off from the front of your gate. You can't say that is nuisance. Yes, normally they are not supposed to do that, but okay, fine, they did it. But at the end of the day, they were able to resolve everything, and the whole sand is gone. And that is just a one-time thing. It's just a one-off incident that, of course, it should not happen again. Maybe you can just go and express your grievances, or just go and tell them that next time if you want to do this, they can do it somewhere else. But in a situation whereby it keeps occurring, then that is nuisance, really private nuisance. Another thing you must prove is that if allowed to continue, it could result in naturally occurring hazard, health hazard, mental hazard, physical injury, emotional trauma, You understand? So if such interference is going to create hazard, then that is something you should prove. And if you can prove it, then you have a case to bring an action for private nuisance. So another thing you have to prove is that the defendant is aware but has failed to take reasonable precautions. I mean, this thing has continued over time over time, and you've walked up to the person, you've explained your situation, you've tried to reach a consensus and agreement. Let us do it like this, please don't do it like this, you can do it this other way, you have suggested other ways, you understand? And the defendant, the person is not budging. Now that is another thing to prove for you to have a case for private nuisance. Another thing to prove is that such interference is unreasonable. Probably there is an element of malice in it. The person is maliciously doing it. Maybe the person does not like you, or the person is just jealous, or the person is envious, or maybe there was an issue, or there was an altercation that happened before, and one way or the other the person has not forgiven you, the person has not let go, and the person say, oh, I'm going to show you. You understand? And the person is intentionally doing it, and it is just so unreasonable. I mean, it is not reasonable. You shouldn't be doing this. So that is another thing to prove for private nuisance. Then you can also prove that a damage has occurred. Like I said, it can be physical damage, it can be inconvenience, it can be even discomfort is enough. The fact that you are being discomforted, you are not comfortable in enjoying your own private property where you are occupying, you are not comfortable, it's enough damage. And if you can prove it, yes, you have a good case for private nuisance. Now, recollect the story, the hypothetical case I mentioned at the beginning when we were starting, the case of Shade. Shade being an employee, she works on the island, she lives on the mainland, traffic, so got stress and everything. After the close of the day, all she wants to do is get home, have a cold shower, get a good dinner, and have a good night's rest. But the next door neighbor, every night, vigil upon vigil upon vigil upon vigil, as really as in Shade is tired, she has gone to meet them, they're not doing anything. Now, do you think Shade has a case for public nuisance? Let's apply it, looking at what she needs to prove. Now, Shade occupies a residence. Shade is the occupant of the property, like, you understand? Remember, we told you that even private nuisance arises when an individual takes up residence in a particular place. So it doesn't necessarily mean you just have to be a land or a farm or anything. It can be an apartment, a residence. Now, Shade has a residence, she's occupying that residence, and this interference has continued. It's a daily thing, every night. And it's not just a one-time accident. It's not a one-time incident. It's a recurring happening. That's another point. Health hazard. Shade has developed insomnia. I mean, she can't sleep at night any longer. It affects her input at work. That's serious. That is serious. So she can't sleep at night, and during the day, it affects her at work. It affects her inputs, affects her output, and she has even brought it to the attention of the people, the neighbor, and told them to stop, but they refused to stop. But instead, in fact, because of that, because of the daily vigil, the every night holding of services, clapping, singing with loud noises like that. In fact, the crowd, the people keep increasing. It's not like people join them, people join the family to hold the vigil. There was a night they even held church service in the room, and now noise was too much. So instead of the whole situation to die down, it increased, the interference increased, and now the disturbance increased. So now Shade has a case. Yes, Shade has a case for private nuisance, in the sense that if she can prove to the court that she is occupying the residence and this thing has been recurring, and she has told them, she has brought their attention to the extent that it's causing health hazard to her, she can prove a case of private nuisance. So we're going to stop here for today. That's for private nuisance. Next week, don't miss it, we'll be talking about public nuisance, and you will see the difference why I keep emphasizing on the fact that private nuisance is individual to individual to individual. So yes, Shade can prove the case of private nuisance. A case falls under the substantial inference with the plaintiff's use and enjoyment of his land. So there is such interference, and Shade can sue for private nuisance. So if you are going through something like this, you definitely have a case, as long as you can prove that you are occupying a residence, you've taken up residence in a particular place, and this activity, whether it is malicious or it's unreasonable, and it's a recurring thing, and also the fact that it's causing health. Now these are the ingredients you need to prove. It has caused health hazard, it has disrupted you, you can't do this, you can't do this, you understand, health hazard, physical, emotionally, mentally. You can actually prove it, and you can prove to the court that you've actually informed them to stop or to take precautions, as the case may be, but nothing has been done. So these are the ingredients for private nuisance. If you can prove this before the court, definitely you will get, you have a good case, and you can get redress for it. So I hope you've been able to learn one or two things today on private nuisance. Nuisance generally is disturbance. If you are disturbing me, you are constituting nuisance. However, before you can sue somebody for it, there are ingredients to prove, as I mentioned earlier. So next week we'll deal with public nuisance, and we'll see what constitutes public nuisance under the Nigerian law. My name is Oluwatosin, and this is a session on assent litigation. I will see you next week, but don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to comment, don't forget to leave your questions. And if you have experiences, we love experiences, please share your experiences with us and let us see how you handle this. Some people, of course, are very reasonable. When you tell them, they will adjust. Why some people are they're just like that, they will not. People like that, they deserve to take them to court. So let's hear your story if you've experienced something like that, and I will see you next week on that session. Bye for now.